This is the story of how I spent over $100,000 on mobile games and a little bit of the history of Galadon. Welcome, fellow fans of Clash of Clans and mobile gaming. It is your host, Galadon, and yes, today we are going to take a retrospective into the history of mobile gaming, video games, and Galadon, going back to the very beginning of everything. Now, if you get a chance, it would be amazing if you could subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications. I promise to bring you the best content I possibly can, way better than Pong. Yes, Pong, the first video game I ever played, and that is really what got me into video games way back in the 70s. It's true, I am older than the average content creator, but that does also mean that I got to grow up in the golden age of video games. I still remember the day my dad brought home the Atari 2600, my first look at real video games. We did have a Pong system before that, but when I went back to look at the old footage of original Atari games, oh man, I can still remember playing these games. I remember spending hours and hours in front of a 13-inch television playing those games and just having a blast. Now, of course, as a child, we also spent a lot of time in the arcade. I used to take the empty tab bottles. For those of you that don't know, yeah, my mom used to drink a lot of that stuff, unfortunately. But the tab bottles were good for 10 cents each at the grocery store, which translated directly to hours and hours of video game play at the local Safeway. Yes, Asteroids and Missile Command were the first stand-up video games that I was ever introduced to. And then, of course, you've got the video game arcades of the 80s, where I definitely spent much of my adolescence. That was a blast. But okay, now that, of course, is not where I spent all of my money on video games. That's going to come in just a moment as we fast forward many years. Okay, I'm not that old, but many years until we get to home video games. Now, of course, as we are doing this, I'm showing you the tutorial of Clash of Clans in the background because that is where most of my video game spending has gone. But you guys help keep the channel going by using code Galadon in all Supercell games. So just a quick shout out to using code Galadon. Know that every time you put in the code, it helps support the channel, keep the videos coming your way, and also half goes to charity. Okay, so let's talk about my adult video game life, and this is after I got married, had a kid and a half. Here we are playing Everquest. Does anybody remember Everquest? Now, this is from the 90s, and it was really my first experience in the MMORPG, multiplayer, massive multiplayer online role-playing games, and I was definitely addicted. Now, I played a lot of Everquest, and I played a lot of World of Warcraft. Now, of course, this was not where my big spending in video games began. In fact, the opposite is true, because in those early days of Everquest and World of Warcraft, I was able to turn around and sell my massive stores of platinum in Everquest because I was a high-level tailor. I was actually the highest level tailor on my server, and then gold in World of Warcraft. Now, I'm pretty sure that the statute of limitations is out, and I don't have those accounts anymore, so we're fine talking about the fact that I probably took home somewhere around $10,000 in platinum and gold sales online back in the 1990s. Now, believe it or not, for about the next dozen years, life took over. I was too busy with my job, with my 2 daughters being born, and I barely touched video games at all. Of course, we had a Nintendo. Maybe I played the occasional arcade game. I actually did own a pinball machine back at home in the garage, and we would break that out from time to time, but it just wasn't a serious pastime. And I guess thankfully my daughters were more into animals and outdoor play than they were into video games, which is definitely, in my mind now as a parent, a good thing. But okay, so let's fast forward to Galadon, working as a marketing director in a company that does marketing for doctors, dentists, and private practice physicians. Now, thankfully, I didn't have to do too much selling, but I was out in the field waiting in doctors and dentists' waiting rooms for hours upon end so that I could talk to clients, develop marketing plans with them, and make sure they were happy. Now, because I spent so much time in waiting rooms, I found that I needed a way to pass the time. So I was out there looking for mobile games to download on my phone back in late 2012, 2013. And one day I happened to be at a car wash. No, no, come on, not that kind of car wash. Who puts their vehicle through that kind of punishment? No, I'm a car guy. A hand car wash, and that's right, I downloaded, and coincidentally today's video is sponsored by Raid. I'm kidding, but we will get to sponsorships in just a minute. Okay, I downloaded, of course, Clash of Clans, and the rest is history. Of course, 9 years of making videos, 8 years of doing this for a living, so every penny that I've spent on Clash of Clans has been tax deductible, and I figure I've spent somewhere around $80,000 to $85,000 across all of my accounts in the past 9 years. But of course, it doesn't stop there because Supercell has many other exciting games, and yes, I have spent quite a bit on other Supercell games like Clash Royale. Now, Clash Royale is a mobile game that I have definitely enjoyed playing, and I still play it today, although I just don't play it that much. During the first month of the release of Clash Royale, I spent over $10,000 in gems, maxing out my accounts, and then I later found out that gems don't buy skill. But I did still enjoy playing Clash Royale. We made a lot of videos about it, and the good news is, my very first Clash Royale video, which was the YouTuber tournament hosted by yours truly in Helsinki, Finland, that was won by Chief Pat over Clash with Ash, it became the most viewed video across my entire YouTube channel, even though I have thousands more Clash of Clans videos. That video alone has paid for my spending in Clash Royale many times over. And speaking of paying for my spending, how about all of the money I spent on Lineage 2 Revolution? If you are a long-term viewer of the channel, you probably remember the videos and the sponsorships from Lineage 2 Revolution. I definitely enjoyed this game, although it's pretty much purely pay to win, and that is probably why the game didn't really last, although it made a ton of money, nearly $1 billion in revenue its first year, and that's probably why they could afford to sponsor people like Conan O'Brien and Galadon to host events. Yes, I did just say Conan O'Brien and Galadon in the same sentence, but anyway, I probably spent about $20,000 on Lineage 2 Revolution, although it was less than half of the sponsorship money I got to make the videos. Now, I've never been sponsored to play Supercell games, but I definitely have enjoyed playing games like Rush Wars. If you remember the Supercell game that got killed, I spent about $1,000 on Rush Wars. I spent about $1,000 playing Smashland as well before it got canceled. But the good news is, if you play a beta release Supercell game and the game gets subsequently killed, you can contact player support and have the equivalent in gems sent to another one of your Supercell accounts. And of course, that helped out with the Gem to Max series in Galadon's Clash of Clans accounts. Okay, so let's talk about the other games out there. Brawl Stars, yes, I have played it. I love it. I've spent maybe $1,000, $2,000 on Brawl Stars gems. Clash Quest is in beta, and I've probably spent about $1,000 there. Everdale is in beta. I've probably spent about $1,000 there as well. But overall, Clash of Clans is definitely my favorite game. That is why the channel has remained Clash of Clans focused for nearly 9 years and always will be as long as it exists. And it exists because of viewers like you. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end, for subscribing, for liking the video, for leaving a comment. You are the true hashtag GalaFam, and I appreciate every single one of you. Now get out there, make the best of the rest of your day, week, month, year, and life, and I hope to see every last one of you back here again tomorrow for more full attacks. Galadon, you made this video without one single mention of Peter $17. Preposterous!